The hosts feel it would be a little unkind to present this podcast without just a word of friendly warning. We are about to unfold the story of Frankenstein, a man of science who sought to create a man after his own image without reckoning upon God. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. It deals with the two great mysteries of creation, life and death. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel that you do not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now's your chance to. Well, we've warned you.
Hello and welcome once again to the Frankencast. I'm the mad scientist Anthony Bowman. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm joined as always by...
Your mom's creepy's boyfriend's boyfriend, that is Eric Velasquez. My pronoun is also he, him. What are we talking about this week, Anthony?
So yeah, we're talking about Baby Frankenstein, which I gotta say, I was real nervous going into this. It had every indicator that this was going to be a rough one.
Well, I mean, it's a Wild Eye film, right?
Yeah, as we talked about we've talked about them before. Like, Wild Eye is rough. Like, they for every one good movie they make about 10 just unbearably bad
garbage
movies. But every now, it's the thing. Like, I think what Wild Eye does is they find low budget creators and they help them distribute their movies, and that's great. But in a lot of cases it feels like people who just want to try to make a little quick buck and they don't really care about what they're doing. And then every now and then they end up with somebody who's creative and doing something weird. Like, Velocipaster is always the example I go to. That movie is made with no money. It looks terrible, but it's fun and weird and like nothing else you've ever seen, and that's great. But a lot of the cases it's not that. And so, right. When you go into like, okay, this is a Wild Eye movie, and not only that, but it's a Frankenstein movie about a little person, and I was just like, this is going to be so
How insensitive is this going to be?
And surprisingly, no, it's not that. Like, it's, there's a little, the Frankenstein monster is a little person, and they call him Little Dude, and that's it. Like, no one's making any, there's no, M slurs, there's no, like, it's... surprising, and like really beyond that, it's like one of the better, like, I mean, it's good. Like, it's basically E.T. but with a Frankenstein robot instead.
Well, that's what I was thinking actually, is that Ian Barling is a very dead ringer for Henry Thomas. The E.T. kid. / grown man who's now a what's his name?
Mike Flanagan.
Mike Flannery. Yeah. Alum, basically.
So this is what I hope for when I put on a Wild Eye. Is like, okay, these are some people. They may not be the best actors, or they're trying their best with what they've got, but they're trying something. They're telling a story that's different. And I mean, we have one ringer here of like an actual sort of monster movie celebrity here. So this is probably
Andre Gower.
Yeah, we got Andre Gower from Monster Squad here.
Heck yeah.
And so this is probably a little less low budget than some of the things Wild Eye does. But like, I really enjoyed this, and maybe it was because I came into it with really low expectations, but I genuinely think this is a pretty good movie.
No, this has a lot of heart, and I'm going to credit that to the actor of John / the writer, and is he the director of this movie? Mike Rutkowski, not Rakowski. Sorry, that's a one-eyed gentleman. But Mike Rutkowski, and I think his two brothers are in this. They're the Mr. Spinthos.
Okay.
The bowling alley guys.
Yeah, that makes sense. That this is just like, it's a labor of love that. Somebody either knows Andre Gower. I don't know how that happened, but like it seems it's in the family for the most part.
Or I'm sorry, the director is John Kondy. The writer is Mike Rutkowski.
Okay,
sorry,
gotcha. So yeah, but
I want to add the ow. But yeah, let's talk about Baby Frankenstein. Rance Nix. I want to see more from this actor.
Yeah,
Like-
he does a good job. I mean, the thing with with a Frankenstein monster is often, you get a lot of face prosthetics and makeup, and it's hard to like do a lot there with like your physical act. Especially when you've got a Frankenstein monster that's mostly mute, which is often the case. But he puts a lot of heart into it. Like you feel for this little guy who's like, trying to figure out the world, and like that he luckily just kind of came upon these people who are kind, and this is what we rarely see with Frankenstein monsters, where they're like, he's being cared for and like befriended right away. And it definitely makes for a sweet little like buddy comedy almost.
Right. And yeah, I mean, it helps that he's not just destructive. He is like a childlike entity that is trying to understand the world and is taking cues from other people.
Yeah.
So that's really nice.
Yeah.
And real quick, normally this is kind of where we do the warnings, the trigger warnings, right? Mm-hmm. I honestly don't really know that we have any, except for maybe assault or threatened assault.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
That's in every movie.
Right. Like there's got to be violence for conflict, and we have a very shitty guy, Ken Glinovich, who is our main character's mom's boyfriend. What is his boyfriend's name? They just call him Mustache Guy. His roommate. I think at one point someone might call him Steve, but yeah, mostly people are just like Mustache. But yeah, Ken sucks, and but he still, I think they do a good job of like making him like, I think he calls Lance, our main character, he calls him a twink at one point.
Yeah, he
does.
Like, he does do slurs.
Yeah, but like I feel like twink is kind of like it's not like a gay slur, like he's not using like the F slur or something, but like Lance is not gay, and so obviously he's meaning it insulting, but they're able to do that without it being like as overtly offensive for the viewer. Like we know that we're supposed to hate Ken, so it's like you're not watching it like, oh, the filmmakers here have some bad opinions about queer people, like that.
No, Ken's just a douchebag.
Yeah, Ken sucks. We're supposed to think Ken sucks, so of course he's going to say some shitty stuff occasionally. Yeah. And they do the line pretty well there, where it's like it's shitty enough, but not too shitty that we're like suffering as a viewer.
Right. And I know some people that if you called them a twink, they'd be like, "Well, thank you." I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But yes, Ken and his friend are helping Kim and her son Lance move into a new home.
Mm-hmm. And like we're in kind of like, it's like the outskirts of a city, like not quite suburbs. You can tell this is a poor area, but it's not like a super run down. But it's pretty clear that this is I want to say like it looks like the west end of Louisville, but like heck,
it looks west south, everything but the east, just about.
Yeah, like it doesn't look like Barbarian, like where they're like in parts of Detroit that just look like they're almost like bombed out. They're so bad. It's not that, but it's
it's set in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, I believe. That's where it's at least filmed. But yeah, you could tell this is part of the Rust Belt. Mm-hmm. Probably one of the least affected parts of the Rust Belt, but still.
Yeah. So we have this family's moving in. There's a neighbor next door who like kind of comes out on his porch and greets them, and right away,
just John.
Yeah, his name is John, and Ken immediately is just a dick to him. Like, he starts insulting him, he calls him a creep. And, like...
implies that he likes little children.
Mm-hmm, yeah. And John is not, like, he is a little weird, but, like, in, like, a
social
friendly...
Awkward.
Yeah, he's just a little socially awkward, but he's not a creep at all. Like, he's just a friendly guy welcoming some new neighbors in. But yeah, Ken's just like looking to like, attack anybody he comes in contact with.
Oh yeah, well, anybody who like even remotely like encroaches upon his masculinity or whatever he probably considers his property, he just immediately just goes full out attack mode on it, right?
Yeah.
And I will say that I do appreciate that this movie has the writer who is playing John. So he probably is already aware of stuff like this. There is a moment where John could take a turn, and nope, just turns out he's innocent.
Yeah.
Just a normal guy.
Yeah. So, yeah.
But they also do mention the neighbor named Truth.
Yes, yeah. There's a point, like I think most of the family goes inside, and John is just talking to Lance, and he points her out this like, girl around Lance's age, and Lance is like, her name's Truth. What's up with that? And he's like, I don't know, I've never asked her, but Lance is definitely interested. She's an attractive girl who lives across the street. That's an exciting thing, when you move into a new house, like, and then Lance goes inside, and the first thing he sees is there is a padlocked door in their house that's like, they didn't lock this, it's just already there.
Right, so what are you going to do? Of course you're going to get the bolt cutters and go for that thing. You're going to find out what's in your house.
Yeah, so I think he does that, like, I think it's like some time passes, it's like the next day, nobody else is in the house. He manages to break into it, and he goes upstairs, and it's like the door leads to stairs that go up into an attic.
By the way, there is a montage where Lance is going to get all of the tools out of the shed. This movie does rely pretty heavily on late grunge rock / like late 2000s music. Like there's a lot of like reverb in the vocals, but it's also almost like almost folk music as well.
Mm-hmm. It has a pretty decent soundtrack, actually. It was like nothing that I recognize. It wasn't like, oh, here's a pop song I'm familiar with, but it was just like they probably got.
It was familiar.
It had a familiar vibe, and like the songs weren't like bad and obtrusive. Like, I feel like we've watched some movies that have like mid 2000s nu metal soundtracks that are just like unwelcome and just assaulting. But this was pretty pleasant. Right.
But yeah, so he walks into the attic from Are You Afraid of the Dark, including the pony.
Yeah.
In the corner.
And he finds like a bunch of newspaper clipping. Like this is like in a video game to like give you some backstory lore really easily. He flips through the newspaper headlines, and it's like there was an innovative tech company called Lundquist Industries, and at some point there was some sort of theft of like billion-dollar tech that nobody knew what it was, like proprietary, mysterious tech that just vanished, and it kind of was hush-hush or whatever, but like we're kind of setting the stage for that, like something happened in this town before this family moved in.
There are those foreshadows, but they're standing around the sheeted figure too.
Yeah, suddenly we hear this like sort of creepy music box sound, and Lance looks around, so we know this is like, in the film, like it's not soundtrack.
The music box is like creepy but whimsical.
Yeah. In that, like it's like it's like childish,
Mm-hmm.
And so he follows the sound, and as you said, it seems to be coming from under this sheet that is like kind of person shaped. So he pulls the sheet off, and sure enough, underneath is a little Frankenstein looking guy
with a see-through skull at the top.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can see right to that brain.
Yeah, like very similar to like Silent Night, Deadly Night 3 that we sort of talked about recently. We didn't do an episode on it, but yeah, we got that classic exposed brain, and he kind of like touches this. Like, he's not sure what is this? Is it a toy? Is it a statue? And like he taps its ear, and suddenly its eyes open, and it like moves.
Yeah, it goes, and he like I guess he hit the on switch. Yeah. Good for him for finding it immediately.
Yeah. So obviously that scares him. He runs downstairs, runs outside of the house, and crashes into Truth in the street. And she's like, "What's up, man? You look like you just saw a ghost."
Yeah, kind of under a sheet.
Yeah. And then we cut straight from that to Lundquist Industry headquarters.
I mean, you mean Stark Tech, right? No, sorry, because it does have the star, like Stark Tech.
Yeah,
like it looks like. I'm not saying that if I was Marvel, I might throw a lawsuit at these guys, but I would say they have some ground to stand on if they wanted to.
Yeah,
but please don't.
Right? Yeah,
they don't deserve it. Yeah.
So we have like a worker coming into his boss's office, and he's like, "Sir, the prototype has been activated."
The prototype.
Yeah, this was kind of ominous, and like I can't remember. I think is the boss facing away and then turn. Like I feel like there's like a reveal here.
Right. And it's like if you should know this guy. If you haven't seen Monster Squad, you're not gonna know this guy because the world has done Andre Gower very poorly.
Yeah. So this is like he's good in Monster Squad. Of course he's a child actor, and this happens a lot with child actors. I don't. He's maybe done bit parts here and there and things, but you don't really see him much other than, you know, when they're doing Monster Squad reunions, or like they did that the Monster Squad documentary a couple of years ago.
Wolfman has nards, or Wolfman's got nards.
Yeah, I think he may have even directed that. I know he was a big part of it, and that's really like the only times you see him as an adult. But you know, I mean, here you see him. He's good in this. Like he definitely still has acting chops. Like he does a good job of like selling this sort of like ominous boss figure that like for a long time we don't really know what his deal is. I mean, obviously we know right away. Okay, the prototype that's been activated. This is the Frankenstein guy up in the attic, and you know he seems like, oh, you know, he's concerned and like he's got to get to the bottom of this. You know,
right? You know what I would like to do? I would like to go back in history and replace Stevendorf, the guy who played Deacon Frost. Yeah, Stevendorf. I would like to replace Stevendorf with Andre Gower and just see what comes out of that. Like, I'm not throwing shade on Stevendorf, but like, I feel like he's more of he's a scene chewer, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas I think Andre Gower could bring more gravitas to things.
Absolutely, yeah. And so we just have this little snippet of a scene with him, and then we go right back to the house where Lance is now leading Truth upstairs, and you know he's like, I need somebody else to see this crazy thing, so I know that it's not in my head, like that this is really up there.
But Truth is like, oh, you're just trying to get me alone in an attic to hang out with me. I mean, sure, I'll give you points for originality, I guess.
Yeah, like she's into it, you know, like I'm not sure how much time passed, but it seems like they have a little bit of a rapport right away. Like they have talked before this moment, I assume.
Either that, or she's just that into him, like from the get go.
Yeah. She just seems like a cool girl. They're just hitting it off. Of course, they get upstairs and there's nothing up there. She's like, okay, that was fun and everything, but like I don't really want to hang out in an attic. Let's do something different.
Right, and I think she has to go to work as well pretty soon. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they go downstairs and they see the back door like slamming shut as if some, you know, like it's on a hinge, you know, or like on a hydraulic thing that pulls it closed or whatever. So like something just left the door and it just banged shut behind them. So, you know, of course, Lance takes off running after that and Truth follows him. And
they find the little baby man, I believe that's what Truth calls him, as a little baby, licking a spruce tree?
Yeah, it's like, this is kind of fun, you know. It's like he's just so new to the world that like he doesn't know how to interact with anything. I think, you know, even in like Mary Shelley's novel, like the some of the monsters' first sort of like descriptions of experiencing the world, and he's just like, there were so many sensations, you know, I kind of was overwhelmed. I didn't know what anything meant or how to respond to anything, and this kind of seems similar. Like he's just like, this tree smells like something, maybe it tastes like something, I don't know, I'm gonna just interact with it with all my senses and see what works.
Yeah. I don't think I need to tell anyone, don't lick spruce trees, though. It's not pleasant. But also, Truth decides she's going to drop the name of the movie and calls him Little Baby Frankenstein.
Yeah. But they're like, you know, they're really good with him. Like they sense that like this is a sort of scared new being, and they're like kind of moving slowly and talking very, you know, calmly, trying to keep him calm.
But you know what the scene of like kindness and compassion needs? An asshole boyfriend, baby. Let's bring Ken in here.
Yep, he bursts into the backyard and instantly sees the little Frankenstein guy, and you know is
immediately antagonizes him.
Yeah. So of course that scares him. He runs off again in fear, and so now we've got all of our, you know, Lance and Truth and Ken all chasing after him.
Yeah, but Ken smells money. He smells a chupacabra, which, I mean, I've not seen a chupacabra. I mean, he's green, but I've never seen a chupacabra that looked like that. Just saying.
Yeah. So Ken and his friend Steve.
It is Steve. Okay.
Yeah. I think this is the point where like it gets mentioned that his name's Steve. Like he's like, "Hurry, Steve! Hop in the truck!" And they like jump in. Or no, they go to get guns out of the truck, and they start. Oh yeah,
he puts on his orange, man. He's hunting chupacabra.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's like, we're gonna hunt this because it's our God-given right to hunt things, and also we might get money and fame, and that's pretty great too.
You know, I love how idiots immediately go to that. Killing this really unique thing will give me money and fame somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the question, you know, step 1, step 2, question mark, step 3, profit thing.
Profit, yeah.
Yeah. So we end up with, we've got all four of our like people now. They're out in the woods trying to track down the little guy. And
right, but Lance and Truth are going off on their own.
Yeah, they're just like, we're not going to follow these idiots around with guns. We're going to end up getting shot in the process somehow. So yeah, they wander off. They're just, and we get like, them just kind of like on a little, meet cute walk together in the woods. It's sweet. That's intercut with, Ken and Steve bumbling their way through the woods like idiots.
Like the movie knows that too, because the soundtrack, anytime they're on screen, it's like a goofy, how would you even say it? Like Keystone Cops soundtrack. It's like
what it reminded me of was like Bulk and Skull from Power Rangers. Anytime
that's
they were
it.
on screen.
That's the one. Nailed it.
Yeah, just like we got to play this dumb music so these guys are idiots.
It's very much like that.
But eventually, Lance and Truth, luckily, are the ones to bump into to the little guy.
Little dude.
Yeah. I think this is when Lance specifically starts calling him Little Dude, and that just kind of becomes his name. And they again kind of calm him down, and then they notice that he's like doing this like chewing, like he's. Right. They're like, what is he doing? And they're like, oh, he's mimicking you, Truth. You're chewing gum. He's like just trying to figure out, he's trying to mimic to try to know how to be, basically.
Right.
So they give him a stick
of
gum.
You want some gum?
Yeah. So he starts chewing it, and he seems really like it. And they're like, okay, just don't swallow it. That'll stay in your, the whole it'll stay in your stomach thing. And then they hear that Ken and Steve are coming, so they hide in this sort of like alcove under a weird shaped tree or a fallen tree or something. There's just kind of this like
it's like almost a drainage ditch.
Yeah, so they're kind of hidden down underneath this tree, and thankfully Ken and Steve go past and don't see them and keep walking. So they're Lance and Truth are able to get the little dude out of the woods. And then But
this is when Lundquist, the executive, approaches John at his home. He's like, I'm pretty sure the notice says $5,000 reward, but he tells John it's a $50,000 reward for an escaped convict.
Yeah, he's got like a wanted poster with like, a picture of the little guy on it.
And,
but
before he had his brain removed or re-added or what have you.
And he's very clear that this is a suspect, that he's dangerous. He's not saying like that this is, the prototype or anything. This is a person that of interest in like a crime. And he's like wearing he's trying to be like a Fed, basically. He's got a suit on. He definitely is not saying I'm from Lundquist Industries. He wants them to think he is, a police officer of some kind.
Right, but he also doesn't exactly say that, hey, I'm a federal operative or anything like that either. Keeping his legal department clean of that.
Yeah. So we have this sort of convergence here where like Kim comes out, and so she's hearing this whole thing. Meanwhile, Lance and Truth and Little Dude have come around the back of the house, and they stop in time. They see something's going on, and they're like peeking around a bush, listening to this whole conversation. And then Ken and Steve also come through the back, but they go into the house and come out the front door. So now they're in
with their guns.
Ken is interested. Like he already, he sees the picture. He's like, oh yeah, that's the guy we were chasing. But he's,
that's my fame and money I can get, right?
Yeah. So he kind of plays it close to the vest here. Like he's not gonna like tell them, but he's definitely like he wants to go find this guy for real now and get this reward.
Right. And as he's more concerned with the money versus, his girlfriend and her son or anyone else, he leaves. And this is when we kind of get a little bit of a romantic spark between John and Kim. He starts like, hey, I'm decorating for Halloween. I could decorate your house if you want.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, I know you just moved in, but I'm into Halloween, and I'm happy to decorate your place up because I've got plenty of decorations, and I'm sure you've not fully unpacked and all that yet.
Yeah, he's one of our people, is what we're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, everybody kind of like parts ways there. The kids manage to get away without anybody seeing them. They're like, we got to hide him now. We know, this, again, this is very E.T. Like it feels like we know that this evil government entity is after our cool little friend that's mysterious and alien in some way. So we got to hide him somewhere.
Right.
And so
let's
Truth
take him
has
to
an
where
idea.
Truth works. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So she works at a bowling alley, which is closed for I guess the timeline here is a little weird because it's daylight when they're having this whole conversation outside, but like when they get there, it seems like the bowling alley is closed for the night.
Who knows?
Yeah, but Lance is like, man, I haven't bowled in forever. Let's turn everything on. Let's bowl. And Truth's like,
no. Truth's like, no, calm down. We can't do that. This is where I work.
We're trying to lay low, and yeah, this is my job. Like, I do not need to get in trouble about this. But Lance is like, come on. And she's like, okay, fine. One game. We'll bowl one game.
Yeah, we know what one game turns into, right?
Yeah.
All the games.
Yeah, they're having fun. We get this long montage of everybody bowling. They're teaching little guy how to play. Everybody's having a great time. This is a really kind of just sweet moment. Then eventually, it's just like the next morning. And the kids have fallen asleep. They're laying on those terrible benches that are, right next to the scorekeeper thing at every bowling alley you've ever been to. And
in walks Mr. and Mr. Spintho. I don't know if they're supposed to be brothers, boyfriends, or what have you. Anyway, they all share the same name as the lead writer, Mike Rakotsky. It's Bill Rakotsky and John Rakotsky. Okay. So I don't know what their relationship is, if they're all brothers or if there's anything different between John and Bill. But
yeah, but I mean, they just, they're, right away it's like there's a lot of tension here because like, oh no, these kids are hiding. They broke into the bowling alley. Truth is worried about getting in trouble with her bosses, but they're asleep now, and it's like, oh no, are they going to find them? They're going to find little dude. What's going to happen here?
But the thing I like about the Spinthos is they don't care. They're just like, all right, we've done this a number of times. Sure, whatever. And they just sit back to work.
Yeah, they're like
cleaning shoes.
Yeah, they're spraying out shoes, and at first little dude like peeks around the corner and like hides, but he's really interested in the sound that the spray bottle makes. So he eventually comes in and he starts like mimicking the sound, and they're like, "Who are you? What's your deal, guy?" But like again, like you said, they're just chill. They're not like, "Who the fuck is broken into our bowling alley?" They're just nice to this little guy. And
they're like, "Hey, do you want to do this?"
Yeah, so they hand him the spray bottle, and he has a little trouble, and it looks like he's going to spray himself in the face, but he doesn't. He manages to spray some shoes. He's having fun, and then Truth and Lance have woken up at this point, and they walk over, and the bosses are just like, hey, is this little guy your brother? Is he dressed up for Halloween? And they're like, yeah,
sure.
That's you got it. That's what's happening for sure.
Right.
And they're like, we're getting ready to go trick or treat, so we're going to head out. And the bosses are like, all right, cool, see you later. But Next time. Yeah, if you want to crash here, that's cool, but just don't leave all the lights on. It's, it wastes electricity. And
coolest bosses ever.
Yeah, awesome. Great interaction here all around. I really liked this. So they head out. Meanwhile, we see Kim has taken...
And Ken.
Yeah. Ken and Steve are following along where Kim has gone to the furniture store. She needs to buy a couch for the new place.
And Ken, he is just a ball of testosterone because he can't help himself from humping the couch. Mm-hmm. Or humping all the couches.
Yeah, and he right away, he's picked the couch that he wants, and she's like, no, I don't like that, I don't want that. And he's like, no, babe, this is the one. Just trust me. I've laid around on a lot of couches.
that one that you like, it's like laying on a prison floor. And I do like how Kim is already kind of fed up with this stuff. He's like, you would know a lot about that, laying on prison floors. Yeah,
but then the sales clerk comes over, and it's John. It's neighbor John. He works here in the little furniture shop. So he's also, he's like trying to help her out. He's like, clearly going to try to get her a deal, show her, he's not trying to upsell her here. He knows her situation, and he's going to do right by her.
Right, and she's even like, what couch would you pick? And he picks the one that she would pick. Mm-hmm. So already they're kind of on the same level, right? They're at the same point in their life.
And meanwhile, Ken, he's just being he's like, I need a turlet, which
turlet.
Like, I don't know, that intentional dumb mispronunciation, just I didn't. It's perfect for him. It's exactly spot on. But yeah, so
you've had a lot of bad interactions with turlets, Anthony.
And so John's like, yeah, it's downstairs. You have to go. And so Ken and Steve go to the bathroom together, like, usually you have like ladies do this in movies, and they have a weird relationship. It's never spelled out, but there's something weird about these two guys.
If they're not roommates from prison, they're definitely close to roommates regardless, right?
Yeah.
But then we're going to cut back to Truth, Lance, and Little Dude. And Truth, being the surrogate mother, is like, oh, she finds these fairy wings, and she's like, I want to dress them up as a little fairy.
Yeah.
That'll be cute.
They're at first I thought they were in a thrift store, but I think they're just in like a clothing store it's kind of unclear, but like, yeah, they're looking at costume stuff. They're trying to like further Halloween up Little Dude so that that people don't recognize that he's a strange little monster.
Yeah, they're in a K-Wall Darget. Just a generic, department store. Lance asks one of the workers there, hey, do you have anything manly for our little brother here? And the guy just stares at him.
Yeah, he's creeped out. And then we have Ken and Steve in the bathroom together. They're standing at...
Steve's really interested in Ken's sponsor,
Yeah, he's definitely looking over the urinal stall divider thing there.
Improper bathroom behavior. 5 yards.
Yeah. And so then we have Ken and Steve headed back upstairs to find Kim, and then we see our trio of heroes going on the down escalator at the same time, and I thought this was pretty good. Like, I did not think they were in the same store until this moment. No. Like, it was a good reveal here. Of course, Ken and Steve are like, that's the guy. We got to get him.
That's the Chupacabra.
Yeah. Right away, Ken calls Agent Lundquist. He has I guess he gave him a business card. Yeah. He calls him and is like, okay, we found your guy. Like, we can get him to you.
We're going to come up with a plan on delivery.
Yeah. We see the trio. They've gone to a park. And again, we kind of get a montage of just them having fun at the park. Like, they're just swinging on the swings and just playing around. And at some point in there, Lance is like, I'm really worried. Like, this feels like I'm trying to protect the little dude. And I just there's a lot of big factors here that we don't know everything that's going on. And I'm afraid something bad's going to happen.
And Truth is a damn dirty realist. And it's like, yeah, we have to enjoy the time with, him that we have. But eventually, it probably is going to come to an end.
Yeah, but we can't, all we can do is control where we are and what we're doing right now. And if things go bad, we'll deal with that then. But we might as well just enjoy now.
They're prepping you for the sad ending that's coming, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, get ready to cry, kids.
Yeah, so then we have Ken and Steve. They meet Lundquist at like a pizza place.
Right. He's got some cheese sticks, I think, or maybe it's bricks of pizza.
Yeah, it's like the square-shaped ones either way. But yeah, Ken, he's a dick to the waitress. He's like really demanding of what he wants.
He wants hot sauce. He wants Parmesan. What is the thing he says? Oh, I want hot sauce. And she's like, okay, hot sauce. Do you want that? Or he's like, hot sauce. And she's like, I'm asking if you want mild hot sauce or hot sauce. Because there's a distinction, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. And so she goes to get that, and he's like, all right, let's cut the bullshit. I know that thing's not a suspect. That's the Chupacabra. I've seen it, and I can definitely get it for you. And he's like, meet us at this address tonight or tomorrow night, or I can't remember the timeline, but he writes an address on a napkin, passes it over, lets Lundquist look at it, and Lundquist is like, all right, I'll meet you there. And then he takes the napkin back and he eats it because he's trying to be a cool spy.
I guess, which looked weird. Honestly, I'd be like Lundquist would be like, wow, you're a freak, dude. Sorry.
Yeah. To like further emphasize like what kind of dude Ken is, he gets a to-go box and he takes like the entire pizza and stuffs it in the to-go box and leaves with it.
Right. I would almost feel bad for Lundquist, but he's an executive, so he's fine.
Yeah, he's not going to starve.
Right. So then we get cut to John hanging out with Truth and Lance.
Mm-hmm. And they hear the music box sound, and he's like, "What's that?" And they're like, "Okay, we gotta ask you a favor.
Don't freak out."
Yeah, just don't freak out. And he's like, "All right." And as soon as little dude comes out, he's like, "Wait, what the fuck is that?" And they're like, "You said you weren't gonna freak out." And he's like, "Okay,
I know, but I'm freaking out."
Yeah. He's like, they're looking. There's guys looking for him. Like, what is going on here? And they're just like, let's go inside where it's safe. No one will see, and then we can talk a little bit more. And he's like, okay. And yeah, I really liked like the way that John kind of handles this. Like, once they're inside, he's still like, I don't. What? This is a little monster in my house. Like I am weirded out, but like he seems.
It is interesting. He's fighting his own instincts to be a better person, which that's cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, I saw just weirdly. I saw like a viral video a day or two ago of like a girl brought her pet rabbit over to meet her dad, and the dad is terrified of this rabbit, but he's trying to feed it because it's like his daughter's pet, you know. And he's like you know, flinching and holding back and reaching out as far as he can with the little carrot or celery or whatever. And it was just so sweet. Like he was really trying, and he was really scared, and everything was fine. And that's kind of how this moment is, you know, like. He's understandably scared. This is a strange little monster in his house. He has every right to be afraid, but he's managing it as well as he can.
Right.
And so he, you know, they're like, he's an innocent little guy. I don't know why people are chasing him, but he's clearly
he's
not
just a little guy.
Yeah. And he's like, okay, I'll help. And he's like, okay, what's his name? And they're like, we don't have a name for him yet. We don't know. And he's like, how about
we just
Gary?
call him little dude.
And they're like, no for Gary. That's that. But so they're like, okay, you just keep him here so that, you know, the agents are looking at our place. You know, Ken's after us. He'll be safe here, and he's not going to cause you any trouble. And John's like, okay, that's fine. But right away, as soon as they leave, little dude just turns into a toddler in a new space. And he's just like, I just want to touch everything. I want to take this picture frame off the wall. I want to grab this vase. I want to just touch all the stuff.
Right.
And
then he settles down in front of the fish tank.
Yeah, and John's like, okay, he's interested. So John sits down next to him, and they just kind of like, John's pointing out like this fish is he's named all his fish, and it's just like this sweet little moment between the two of them.
Right, and this is where I was saying earlier that this could have been a spot where, if they wanted to, they could have done a villain turn for John, but they have better instincts and decided not to do that.
Yeah,
and he's just cool. He's just a cool guy.
Yep. So then we go back to Lance's house where he takes a shower. You know, he's like finally got a moment where things aren't chaotic.
You know what I love about taking a shower? That no weird, creepy, hairy guy will just rip the sheet out and just stare at me.
Yeah.
While I'm taking that shower.
Yep. So of course Ken bursts in and he's like, I know you got that chupacabra. I saw you at the store. Where is it? And Lance is like, I don't know what you're talking about. And Ken's like, no, I saw you. I know you have it.
Yeah.
And Lance pulls a pretty good move here. He just like bursts out of the shower, kind of grabs a towel and is like, you know, kind of puts a towel around himself. And he's like, Mom, Ken just, he's like propositioning me in the shower. Like this, what is wrong with your,
I'm
your
naked.
weird, creepy boy? Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
I love it because like that is brilliance on your part, Lance. Good way to get rid of this scumbag. Because Mom sees her son basically naked except for a towel and sees this other grown man with his friend like in tow, and she's like, this is done. This is over, good friend. Mm-hmm. You can't do that to my son.
Yeah, she, you know, I mean, of course, Ken has been like a jerk and like a weirdo. Like, it's not hard for Lance to convince her of this. She's like, okay, I probably should have trusted my gut sooner and gotten rid of Ken, but this is all the prodding I need. Get the fuck out. I'm done with you.
Right, but Glenn, of course, he knows this relationship's already over. He starts leaning to it and is like, guys just do that stuff in the Navy. I was in the Navy. We do that stuff all the time. And Kim is like, no, guys do in fact not do that. Which, I don't know, she could be wrong.
Right,
I've not been in the Navy.
Right, nope, yeah. But yeah, eventually she does force him out of the house. He like, you know, stomps off, you know, down the porch and out into the road. And we see Lundquist is like staking out the house. He's in his car. He sees all this happen. Lundquist he's up to something, you know.
Right.
He knows more than he's letting on for sure. But back inside
he's like an evil puppet master.
Yeah, definitely. So we have, you know, inside Kim apologizing. She's like, I knew Ken kind of sucked, but like I'm lonely. I'm trying to do what's best for you and what's best for me, and just like trying to live my life. This
bond over
real.
and kind of reconcile.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, I get it. I know. I don't blame you. Ken was awful, but like I don't hold that against you.
Right. But John is a little bit of an opportunist because he's like, all right, scumbag messed up. It's my time, baby. And he comes over with some hot chocolate.
Yeah. So he's like kind of comforting Kim. They sit on the porch, or like he's like, why don't we go inside where it's warmer? And she's like, no, I kind of just, this cold's good. I want to clear my head. So they sit down and they kind of have a little moment here.
Right. He does actually respect her wishes in that regard. It's kind of like he's trying to see where his boundaries are, but he's also respectful of hers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And they talk about like how they ended up where they are right now. He reveals some stuff about himself, like they're having a give and take here.
His wife liked to go to the chiropractor every day, and then her chiropractor started making house visits. And he's like, yeah, I kind of figured out it was that.
Yeah.
That was over.
And he was like, I always wanted kids, but, it didn't happen, and then she left, and now just me by myself, and she's like, yeah, well, I ended up with the kid, but I had a similar story. I was married, and, he left. And
now, did he cheat on her with a waitress?
I think so.
Wasn't that
That's what
the
it's.
thing? Yeah.
I think so. And so she was like, so now I've got this kid that I'm raising as a single mom, and he's great, but single parenthood was not in my life plan, and it's a lot of work. It's my life is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be.
Right.
Still I love Lance. I wouldn't get rid of him for anything, but it's a hard life. So we both you didn't end up with kids, but either way, we're in rough situations, so right. It felt like a kind of a nice moment between them there, where they're kind of understanding and seeing what they have and what they missed out on and all of that.
Right. And you know what John's solution? John's solution is probably what my solution would have been in my younger years. Hey, let's have a party about it. Just a Halloween party. A lot of people. He says a lot of people come over. We're going to find out that maybe not that's not entirely true. but he at least is having a Halloween party.
Yeah, he seems like he's just a lonely guy. He loves Halloween. He probably, I feel like as we go in this, I wouldn't surprise me if he hasn't thrown a Halloween party every year and no one has come, and he just keeps doing it. Just a Hope Springs Eternal thing here, where he's got his little bowl of punch and he's just sitting by himself.
If you build it, or if you have it, they will be there, right?
Yeah. She's like, so do I have to put on a costume and all of that? And he's like, yeah, it's a Halloween party. She's like, oh, I haven't done that in probably 20 years.
He's like, you don't have to, but you would be the odd looking one without a costume.
Yeah. They kind of, both head back to their houses at that point, and then we have the next day, Lance and Truth go over to John's to check in on little dude.
So Truth is dressed as a cat. John is a Dracula. Lance, is he supposed to be like a ghost or a zombie? Is he basically supposed to be Henry Thomas's character in E.T., Elliot?
It could be, yeah. It's just
very similar makeup.
Yeah. So they're like, we're going to take him out trick-or-treating. And John's like, well, I've got a party coming up, so, kind of keep it on the, if you bring him back, keep it quiet, because there might be a lot of people. Your mom's coming. In fact, this is probably
I might be bumping uglies with your mom.
Yeah, that's
maybe
probably
don't
the
say
one
that.
moment that John maybe goes a little too far.
Right.
And Lance is like, wait, what did you say? And John's like, nothing. What do you mean? What? It's
figuratively bumping uglies, Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably don't say that to the kid.
Yeah. So they end up. I think they end up putting just the sheet ghost costume on little dude.
It's the E.T. costume from that movie.
Yeah, absolutely. So this whole bit, I think we talked a couple when we did Frankenstein and Me, that there was a very nostalgic suburban trick or treat scene that felt very similar to E.T. We get that again here.
100%.
And even more so, it's been a long time since I've actually just sat down and watched E.T., but I feel like we get a lot of E.T. POV shots here where, it's looking through the two holes in the sheet, and we get that again here. It's very, very much an homage to the E.T. scene.
Very much so. But we also get that Lindquist, Ken, Steve, they're all watching as this is going on. Yeah,
they're definitely all following them around. This ghost disguise is not fooling anybody. They're walking around with a little guy. They know what's up. But the trick-or-treat scene goes on a while. We get a lot of them ringing doorbells, getting candy. They meet this one really, really weird neighbor who...
Ask them to come inside. Don't do that, ever.
Yeah, and they do it, and then he makes them dance for him. Don't do that.
And sing a song.
Yeah, so they do that, and then at the end of it...
Now, the goal of this motherfucker, He has them do all that, gives them apples. How dare you, sir? I would egg your house.
And he's so creepy about the whole thing. I thought that suddenly we were going to go into, like, there's going to be a razor blade in the apples. Like, it's just, it felt so off. Like, this whole scene was just so weird. But that's it. Like,
either that or we were going to have a butt-to-butt scene from Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah. Everything about this scene was like red flags for me. But, thankfully it doesn't go that way.
Nope. They do just a creeper. That's fine.
Yeah, and we also, like, this is all kind of intercut with, the party, which is just John and Kim. Nobody else
Now, Kim is dressed up as a cowboy exclusively with the mustache.
Yeah. They sit around, they talk for a little bit, they're like, everybody else is coming soon. And then,
he pours her a drink.
Which is it's a margarita, which I thought was pretty good. And eventually he's like, let's go to the snack table. And so they're eating some snacks. And he's like, do you want to play a game? And she's like, no. And he's like, no. But, like,
it's a blindfold game.
Yeah. Come on, let's play a game. And she's like, okay, fine. And so he puts a blindfold on her. And it's the, again, very nostalgic Halloween thing where he's got a bowl of Jell-O, a bowl of spaghetti noodles, and a bowl of grapes. And, you have to put your hand in them blindfolded and guess what they are.
Yeah. One is the blood, one is the intestines, and the other one, the grapes are the eyeballs.
Yeah.
But she figures it out immediately. She's like, okay, this is blood, this is intestines. They're kind of cute about it. And then she just grabs grapes and starts eating them. It's like, oh, these are eyeballs, right?
Yeah. I thought this was very sweet. She was humoring him, but being playful with him. Like, again, really good here. I liked all of this.
But John's like, all right, this is my chance. And he gives her a kiss. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't, she's like, oh, okay.
This all, again, felt very real. Like, she kind of pulls back, like, startled. But then, like, on her face, you can see that she's like, okay, yeah, I'm into this. But then he's kind of, like, embarrassed that he just did this thing. He gets kind of shy. It just felt very cute, very real. Meanwhile, after our trio of heroes leaves the creepy guy's house, this is when Lundquist and Ken and Steve start fully chasing them. So, like, they'd been kind of like lurking, but now it's a full-on chase. They burst into John's house, and like, John and Kim, they're having fun. They're a little tipsy at this point. They've had a couple margaritas.
No one else has shown up. At all. It's late into the night.
Yeah. The little guy bursts in. He runs through the house. He gets to the back door and Ken is like chasing after him, and he's trapped. Yeah. But then Lance has run around to the back, and he opens the door and lets him out. They get away. Meanwhile, Kim is like, "What the fuck are you doing? This isn't even my house. This is my friend's house, and you're not welcome around here. Get out of here."
The kid's like, "You know what? I got a better idea." And he pulls out his gun and takes Kim hostage.
Yeah, we knew he sucked, but this is like a next level. Like, he's been a shitty guy, and now he's an outright villain. He takes her.
He literally tells truth. He says, "Tell your little boyfriend I'm going to kill his mom." Mm-hmm. That's it.
He's got to bring the chupacabra to me tonight, or I'm going to kill her. He leaves. Then there's another knock at the door, and it's Lundquist. Truth answers the door because John is like so shaken up he can't even answer his own door. And Lundquist is like, "We need to talk." And she's like, "Oh, this is the guy that's been chasing us." Like, she's scared, but like, what do we have to lose at this point? Lance has gotten away. But it almost
seems like she actually knows him. She's like, okay, yeah, but that will never get expounded upon at all.
Yeah,
it's like I almost feel like Lundquist might. It would have been so cool if that was like her dad, and he was just like an asshole business dad.
Yeah, that would have been an interesting twist.
Yeah.
So instead, we don't see their talk. Like, we cut to Lance and Little Dude, who have hidden away in the woods again. They're eating a bunch of their Halloween candy.
Little Dude is digging into the Halloween candy, just bowling, swallowing the whole bowl.
Yeah, dumping it straight into his mouth, wrappers and all. As this movie's going on, like, Little Dude doesn't really talk. He kind of makes some grunts and groans. But
like
all of a sudden,
he'll say certain things like treat, like one syllable or maybe two syllable words.
Yeah. He'll repeat words that they have said to him, but all of a sudden he looks over at Lance and he just says, "Lance," and he gives him a big hug. And so, like, this is the first sort of, like, he's initiating dialogue, not repeating something. And it's really sweet. Like, this is, a really beautiful little moment, and like very unexpected again from like what I thought we were going to get with this. I definitely did not expect to get a little choked up at a moment in this movie. But yeah, it's very, very sweet. And then they hear Truth yelling for them. It's like, oh, okay, let's go get Truth. But as she approaches, there's two, it's like silhouetted, but we see Truth with two taller, male figures on either side of her. And they're like, what's that? And it's Lundquist. And John, yeah. But so of course, that makes everybody nervous. Like, we know this guy's after him. And Lundquist is like, hang on, just hear me out. Ken kidnapped your mom, but I have a plan. I think I can get this all taken care of.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. I'm not trying to capture, like, Lundquist has seemed like he's after little guy this whole time. But he's not just taking the opportunity to grab him and run.
Yeah, he's like, Ken has gone too far with this bullshit. I basically have to take care of that loose end myself. But, we're going to have mutually beneficial ends here.
Yeah, absolutely. So we cut from that to Ken's basement where...
Yeah, it tells her, I love you, but I have to take care of myself, so I want that money.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, he's got Kim in his basement... tied to one of those metal poles that hold up basements, and she's gagged and bound and everything. And there's a knock at the door, and Ken's like, "Steve, go get that." So
Steve's an idiot.
Yeah, he goes upstairs, and it's Lundquist. Which they were expecting Lundquist to come. Steve leads him downstairs, and right away, Ken pulls a gun on Lundquist because he doesn't have the chupacabra, but he does have a gun.
Double-crossed him.
Yeah. So,
but he's like, all right, give me that suitcase, baby. I want my $50,000 right here, right now.
Yeah, and so, Lundquist hands him the briefcase, he opens it, and he closes it again, and he's like, okay, I'm going to open that again, because when I just opened it, I thought I saw nothing in there. And that can't be right. So he opens it again. Of course, it's an empty briefcase, and Lundquist is like, you thought I was going to have $50,000 in cash just out of no. That's not how this works.
I saw what you did. You were clearly going to try and double-cross me. So I've double-crossed you first.
Yeah. Then there's another knock at the door, and Ken's like, go get that, Steve. I don't know what's going on. So Steve again goes upstairs. He answers the door, and nobody's there. So he's like...
Ding-dong ditch.
He's like looking outside, trying to figure out what's going on. He goes back down, and then Ken's like, I'll figure it out. And Ken goes up, right?
Well, there's another knock, and that's when Ken goes up, yeah.
Yeah.
And he sees little dude knocking on the door, taunting him, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so little dude takes off running, Ken chases after, and then Lance and Truth come into the house, and then Steve's standing there, and they just immediately, I think Truth...
Lance tricks Steve one more time by knocking on the door one more time, and Steve's an idiot, so he goes up the stairs. Lance almost fucks this up because there's a pan. He reaches out in front of where Steve could have seen his hand, grabs the pan, but then waits... And as Steve goes by, he's like, hey, Steve! Bang!
Yep. So now Steve is out cold. They run downstairs. They free Kim. And so now we have Lance and Truth and Kim and Lundquist. They all come upstairs. They run outside. They hear gunshots in the distance. So they take off towards the sound of the gunfire. And
Ken's getting ready to shoot. He's getting ready to shoot little dude.
Yeah, I guess he fired and missed, but now he's going to get him. Lance runs and stands in front of him. He's going to protect his friend.
I don't think Lance is making the best decision here because Ken has shown he does not give a fuck.
Yeah, he does not care. He wants the money. He wants this guy, wants to kill the chupacabra.
Yeah.
So,
but as he is getting ready to shoot Lance, who should save them but John?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he runs up behind Ken and just starts beating the shit out of him, and it was so cathartic. I really loved this. It was really nice.
See, we did this during New Year's, it's after New Year's now, but it's set during Halloween. But this ass beating, this is a Christmas Story ass beating right here.
Yes. Yeah, it's very similar to that, the Christmas Story scene. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but you're right. And, like you said, John's one of us. He's the nerd, and Ken's the bully, and we love to see...
We don't stand bullies.
Yeah, so it's really nice. And as that's going on, Lundquist gets the gun that Ken has dropped in the chaos, and he holds it on Ken and is like, "All right, get out of here. We have this situation now under control."
Right. Well, they don't necessarily send Ken off because Ken ends up in a trunk. Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, we have Kim kisses John. We have Truth kind of like comforting little dude. And then, we see all of them looking down into a car trunk where Ken is.
Right.
And Lundquist he's like, I'll take him away. I'll handle him.
Do not worry about what happens to him, he says. It's like, oh, okay, well, he's going to be the new little dude, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's time for little dude to go.
Yeah, it's, Lundquist has been looking for him because this is, I think he more explicitly kind of said, this is, my grandpa made this experiment. He was supposed to help mankind, but I got to take him back to the lab and keep working with him and stuff.
He also reveals little dude's actual name is Jeremy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they, saying goodbye, it's all like tearful, but like the teens are like, okay, this is what has to happen. Jeremy does belong to Lundquist, and Lundquist is not a villain, so this
but
is...
he explicitly says that Jeremy was created to help mankind. Mm-hmm. So this is the good ending of the Frankenstein story, where, Lundquist and his heirs use this to actually benefit humanity.
Yeah.
So that he was supposed to be helpful for medical reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, everybody's kind of like accepting this. It's like we found a dog at the park, but now the real owner has come, and we have to say goodbye, even though we love but they're all getting ready to get in the car, and then Jeremy, little dude, breaks free of Lundquist and runs back to hug the kids one more time.
Right. I want to believe that Lundquist is actually the kid from Monster Squad, because he says, my grandpa wanted him to be only in the hands of good people and keep him out of the hands of bad people. But I think he's in the hands of good people.
Yeah.
You guys have a good one.
Yep. He's like, I think Jeremy hasn't really been able to make his own decisions. He's been, kind of passed around and forced to do what other people want, but he wants to be with you. You all clearly love him. You're clearly protective of him. Okay, I'll take care of Ken. See you later. And he gets in his car to drive away, and then we see John and Kim get in the pickup truck, and we have Lance and Truth and Jeremy in the truck bed. Which you never see anymore. But when we were kids, I rode in so many truck beds at that age. And they're just having fun. They're all like enjoying it. The wind's blowing their hair. Truth kisses Lance, and it's really sweet. And then Jeremy
hugs them both.
Yeah, he kisses Truth on the cheek. Like he's again doing his mimic thing. But like, obviously Truth and Lance have this romantic kiss, and he has like a sweet sort of like platonic kiss on the cheek. And everybody's having fun and smiling.
We don't get an abrupt ending, but we do get the end. You gotta love it.
Yeah.
So I will say that I do like how, in an odd way, it's kind of like Truth and Lance actually have a kid now.
Yeah, they sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're parents in their own way.
It seems, like we don't really have much about, like you said, like it would be interesting if Lundquist was Truth's dad, but it seems like with him leaving, he's not. So you don't really know what Truth's story is, like her family thing. But they've kind of formed this little, unit now. Like John and Kim are together. They've got, John always wanted a kid. Now he's got Lance. And they all have Jeremy. And then, Truth is kind of part of the unit as well. And it's just like this sweet, little family. Just a really beautiful ending.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, would this be a actual good use of the Manic Pixie Dream Girl trope? Because she's not really the object, but she is also quirky and does her own thing.
Yeah. I think, like...
a subversion of it?
I think the thing about that sort of like archetype is that there are whimsical people in the world, and they do, have interactions, like the idea of a Manic Pixie Dream Girl, like... It's only codified in this term because like it got overused to the point where like these were sort of one-dimensional characters that existed to
fix the guy.
Yeah.
Basically.
Whereas here, I think you know, I mean, like having a character named like she's supposed to be like, this is not a normal girl, you know, she's not like the other girls, but she's also not generically that, you know, she is interesting. She's not trying to fix Lance. Lance and her bonded, and they have this connection. So yeah, it's like what these characters, you know, I think there's several like really old classic movies that people now talk about as like these characters are proto Manic Pixie Dream Girls, like Aubrey.
Holly Golightly,
Holly. I couldn't remember the character's name, but yes, Holly Golightly from Breakfast at Tiffany's, or Annie Hall from Annie Hall. But like in those versions, those were more defined characters. They weren't the one-dimensional thing that you get in like Garden State or something.
Right.
And
Poor
I think
Garden
Truth
State.
is kind of like a nod back to that previous incarnation before it was such a set in stone archetype.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's definitely a tendency there, which again shows that like this can be an interesting type of character if it's done right and not completely flat and used as like a prop to make the male character achieve his goals.
Right, exactly. And honestly, I think, well, does she really achieve any of her goals? Does she have goals? I guess just to get to work, but still. Yeah, all right, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely is like a girlfriend character. She doesn't have a ton to do, but she also isn't just...
Right.
You know, like there's a little bit more going on in the background with her. Like as you said, we don't know what her family life is. Yeah. She's there, you know, as part of Lance's story and Little Dude's story, but not in like a way where she's just completely serving their plot. Like she's in their story, not just like, you know, a device.
Yeah. And then with Lundquist, he is a corporate guy, but not a typical corporate guy. Like he has morals-ish, but also he's definitely got the, I guess, dark irony in that, hey, Ken, guess what? You're now an experiment because you're an asshole.
Yeah.
But honestly, that probably is still the best moral outcome for everyone, that Ken be taken off the streets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and who knows what happens with Steve? He's just... he was not in the trunk with Ken there at the end.
You know, I want to believe that Steve just was like, you know what? I'm gay. I'm going to go out. And he just lived his gay life and was fine and was happy. Found a boyfriend and a husband. Whatever he wanted from life.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, that's my headcanon. Well, anything else we got to say about it?
Yeah, I think, you know, like,
Jeremy.
I mean, I think, as we said, like, this is, you know, a very sweet movie that, you know, like, I'm sure a lot of you all haven't seen this. It's a kind of like a weird curiosity that, like, you know, it's another one that I found specifically as I was like really deep dive trying to find things for this show. Definitely hadn't seen it before this. And as much as I love Frankenstein, seeing the title and the cover of this, I probably would have been like, nah, this one's probably not one that I need to rush to see. But I'm really glad we did, because, you know, it was it was really surprising what was going on.
Can we talk about the covers real quick? Because I've found 3 of them. 2 are more accurate, one being the actual face of the baby Frankenstein. The other more accurate one is just the outline of Lance and, you know, Jeremy holding hands. The last one, though, that's completely wrong, because it almost looks like Jeremy, but the head's all there and he looks a little bit more menacing.
Yeah, it's very much like the Tubi cover for it. Like,
yes.
He's got way more scars. He's very evil looking. He's climbing out of a toy box, and there's an evil clown and an evil doll next to him. And it's like, yeah, you know, baby is in this like red font, and then Frankenstein's all stitched up font, and it says he's looking for a friend underneath it, as if he's like, you know, gonna come murder you. Yeah, I don't know why, like, and that's definitely the cover I saw first, and I was like, okay, I know what this is gonna be, and it's gonna be
garbage.
Yeah. I was just like, I don't know who was in charge of having that made, because they really are doing the film a disservice by setting
I'm blaming
it up like
Wild
that.
Eye.
Probably.
That seems like a Wild Eye decision.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But here's something I will say. Like, obviously, if you're looking at the IMDb score, I think it's 3.4, which that's not great, but it's not the worst. However, looking at have you checked out Rotten Tomatoes?
No.
I think they got it right. Well, it's 83%, for the review, like the regular watchers, and 86% for critics. So my understanding is that's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's not bad, especially for a movie like this.
Yeah, especially for like a genre horror film that like did not.
Well, I would call this horror, but yeah.
Yeah, or a movie that has the appearance
genre
of horror. And yeah, that like I'm sure did not get any kind of theatrical release.
No.
Yeah, this movie has everything working against it, which is unfortunate because it is quite good, actually.
Yes. Like, honestly, I know a lot of people say that E.T. is a classic, and it is for a reason. It was a Steven Spielberg film. When it came out, it was unique for sure. But I kind of like this a little bit better. I'm just saying. This is me personally.
Yeah. I mean, of course, anything with a lovable Frankenstein story, I can't resist those.
Yeah, I feel like with E.T., you're trying to sell me merchandise. With this, it actually has heart. There's a heart there.
Yeah, and I really liked, with E.T., of course he has to go home at the end. That's the whole thing. And we kind of, like, E.T., we have the aliens he's trying to return to and the government agency that's after him. And here, that's almost the same thing. We have this, our government agency villain turns out to actually be his parent in a way.
Or at least a relative, right?
Yeah, and at the end, he doesn't have to go home. He gets to stay with the kids who understood him and protected him and helped him. Like, of course E.T. has to end with him going home. That's, of course. But, like, I liked this ending better. It felt like...
Turns out E.T. was home all along.
Yeah, which is really sweet. And I think that speaks to, like, this idea of sort of like the found family. Jeremy would have probably been treated fine by Lundquist wherever he got taken.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't have had this like deep emotional connection that he built by learning how to talk a little bit and eating candy and like all of these little moments that he shared with Lance and Truth. This is like the family that he made along the way, and I think the fact that he gets to keep that is really special.
Yeah, I do think that if you went with Lundquist, he would have been more of a pet, whereas in this, like we said, he's basically a surrogate child to Truth and Lance.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that Lundquist saw that and understood that and made that choice makes Lundquist so much more of a
much better
character. Yeah.
And the fact that he's going to just lobotomize Ken is perfect too. Anyway. All right. Anything else we got to say about it?
I think that's it for this one.
All right, Anthony. So, I mean, by the time all this is coming out, spring's still a little bit a ways away, but I still have dreams of spring. And you know what comes out in spring? Beehives, or bees specifically. And anyway, this is a bad transition, but we're going to watch Spirit of the Spirit of the Beehive coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, this is one, like, I think it was on our schedule, like, several months ago. And then, I can't remember, was it when there was something like a movie came out where we were like, okay, we're going to have to move that, and it just kept getting pushed. So we're finally going to get to talk about it. This is like, an art house film. It's, Criterion has released it and everything. I believe it's Spanish, like Spain Spanish. And it's been many, many years since I've seen it. But
yeah, this feels like Del Toro had, like, this is a proto Del Toro movie.
Yes, yeah, definitely. It's. I think it actually might end up sort of being an interesting companion piece to this one, which I definitely was not expecting. But
Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah, it is. It's very well. I was like, it's kind of a good companion piece to Baby Frankenstein in a way, where you've got kids connecting with. But yeah, it is similar to, like, there's some similar vibes there for sure. Yeah, like. It's been a very long time, so I don't want to say too much because my memory of it is hazy. But I think this will be kind of an interesting conversation and very different than some of the other movies that we talk about here. So I'm excited to kind of get to that and branch out a little bit. So yeah, join us next week for the Spirit of the Beehive.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Anthony, where can they find us?
So you can find us on all the socials at the Frankencast. including TikTok. We're also doing more video stuff over at YouTube, so you can find us there as well. We're gonna
I got off my duff and actually did stuff.
Yeah, we're going to try to do like the video versions of the episodes. So if you want to actually see us discussing, and probably it'll be a slightly different edit. We won't go as like, as tightening it up. So if you want a more, loosey-goosey version of the conversation and feel like you're just hanging out with us, you can now do that over at YouTube. You can also always email us at thefrankencast@gmail.com with any questions or comments. We'd love to hear from you there. And you can, of course, find us at patreon.com/thefrankencast, where, we have a second episode every week. We're always doing different stuff over there. So, if our one weekly episode's not enough for you, you're missing half the opportunity that you can if you just join us over there.
Oh, but you gotta check it out. There's a lot of cool stuff going on over there.
Absolutely.
And more by the day. All right. Then we continue there.
Looks like you survived another episode. The Frankencast is a production of FCR Media. It's hosted by Anthony Bowman and Eric Velasquez. Follow us on Twitter at The Frankencast, or send us a letter at thefrankencast@gmail.com. Our cover art is by Amanda Keller. You can find her at Keller Illustrations on Instagram. Our theme music is by Vivek Abhishek. Thanks for listening.